Kathy, it appears we have a quorum. I am going to kick it over to you.
Thank you, Ruben. Good afternoon, everybody. I would like to call to order the Human Rights Commission Subcommittee on Cultural Holidays and Celebrations. I'm just going to take a roll call. I see Karu Pitch is here.
Present.
Lorenco Garcia. Yes.
Present.
And Shay is here, correct?
I am present. Hello, Kathy.
Wonderful. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Ruben, also for joining. So in general, I just always like to go over what the subcommittee is tasked with. In general, it's tasked to research and determine which cultural holidays and celebrations need to be acknowledged throughout the year, decide if or how the city calendar could be a means of increasing awareness, make recommendations when the city might consider displaying flags, banners, or other forms of recognition, and act as a resource to community members and groups to propose and discuss cultural celebrations that the city could honor. So I would like to maybe dive right in, if that's okay. And then I guess Ruben, I have one question for you. If someone joins in, you'll be able to tell us?
Yes, if there's a participant on the attendee side, I will let you know.
Okay, wonderful. So before we get into the calendar, if there's no objection, I'd like to skip to the one after that, which is the scheduling of next and subsequent meetings, because I feel like we can resolve that hopefully a little quicker than talking about the calendar. Is there any objection to doing that first? Everyone okay with that? Great. So, I mean, I think it looks as if this is going to be a busy subcommittee, and, you know, until we get the calendar situated, and because as a Human Rights Commission, we only meet once a month, it's a little difficult to try to keep up with the calendar and other things that we want to do. So I want to propose that we try to have a monthly meeting and maybe have it be the same time every month, so that we can all kind of put it on our schedules, almost like we do the commission meetings. I want to try to make it that all the subcommittee members can make it. I know that there was one subcommittee member that really has a conflict that they'll have for a while on Tuesdays. So I just didn't know how everyone felt about, I know everyone is busy. I am too. So I guess I want to, open the floor to what your thoughts are about that. If you think that's necessary, just because we have to get the work done, we have to have a quorum present every time we do it. So I would prefer doing it at 5 and not 6, but if that's not convenient, I'm open to whatever the group decides. So I don't know who would like to comment.
Hi, Kathy. I don't mind changing the date. I prefer 5 o'clock because, when it's getting lighter, I would love to have some time with my family. So 5 to 6 works better for me.
Great. Thank you for your input, Karu. I appreciate it.
I agree with Karu. I'm totally fine with doing it at 5 p.m. If someone needs to change it at 6, I'm fine with that as well.
Great. What do you think, Dr. Garcia? Any thoughts?
I'll leave it the way it is. 5 o'clock works fine for me. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, obviously, because of open meeting laws, we can't do it earlier, right? So that would be the earliest we could do. So thank you all very much for your input on that. Now, I had mentioned that, Tuesday might be a problem. I mean, if that does work for the majority though, I mean, I don't know if I should send an email out, but I was trying to think if, we usually have our Human Rights Commission meetings are usually the first Thursday of the month, unless it is a holiday. And then if it's a holiday, it's the second Thursday of the month. So do we want to stick with Thursdays and maybe do the third Thursday of a month because it might not be a fourth Thursday? Is there another day that works better for people? What do we think?
For me, Tuesdays may conflict with an equity meeting that I run for the district. But that equity meeting I'm thinking now, ends around 4 o'clock. So it should not be a problem, but I have no problems with Thursday either. So whichever works for the group, I'll go with that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I would, based off my schedule, Thursdays are a lot better for me. So I'll definitely take Thursdays.
Great. Thank you.
I can do Thursday also.
Okay, so we do have a quorum, so maybe we should just decide this. So can I hear a motion to have a monthly meeting on the third Thursday of each month at 5 p.m.?
I motion to have a monthly meeting on the third Thursday at 5 p.m. every month.
Right, and can I get a second?
I'll second it.
I'm just taking the notes, so I make sure I have the notes correct. All right, motion for a monthly meeting at 5 p.m. third Thursday of the month. Okay, all those in favor of having a monthly meeting of the subcommittee at 5 p.m. on the Thursday of the month? All right, all those opposed, seeing none. Okay, 4 in favor. Wonderful. Thank you all very much for getting that settled. So I think that'll be better for all of us to have something on our schedule so that we know it's coming instead of trying to plan with everyone's emails. And I know that I am the worst when it comes to emails. So I apologize for that in advance too. Okay, so let's go back to our discussion relative to developing a cultural historical celebrations calendar.
I just want to, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to let you know that there is an attendee. Councilor Morbido is in the attendee section, so I will leave it up to you how you want to, what you want to do.
We can bring him in if there's no objection from the members. Councilor Morbido, I think, would like to speak with us today regarding a cultural calendar. If there's no objection, I'd like to allow him the opportunity to do so. No objection? Hearing none? Okay, great. Hi, Counselor.
Hi, Chairwoman Reinstein. How are you?
I'm very good, Counselor. How are you? You're joined by, this is the subcommittee, as you know, on cultural holidays and celebrations meeting. We're just starting the discussion relative to developing a cultural historical celebration calendar for the city on their website. And I know I wanted to give you the floor. I know this was something you wanted to speak to us about. So thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely. First, I want to thank each and every one of you, all of the members of the Human Rights Commission, especially the subcommittee. I worked very, very hard with the mayor. It's been 4 years trying to implement a Human Rights Commission. So I thank the mayor and I thank all of you for your time and effort. You guys have really gone above and beyond and made this a educational process. And this is what it's about, educating people. So with that said, thank you. One thing I do wanted to see if you can add to the calendar. Last year, we had our first Gay Pride flag raising. Myself and the mayor hosted the event, and I would like to see that on the calendar again this year. And I'd be more than willing to help out and help host it as well. So That's all I have to say. Just a quick feedback. I want to thank you guys and see if you can add that to the calendar for the first week of June,
First week of June is, okay, first week of June.
Pride Month.
It's a Pride Month.
Pride
You
Month.
read my mind, counselor.
This is great. We really appreciate it. And Counselor, thank you, and the other members of council, and obviously the mayor, for your forward thinking to resurrecting this Human Rights Commission in a time that we needed it. And we really, really appreciate the kind words. I don't know if there's anyone else on the commission that wants to ask the counselor any questions or any comments.
I may be so bold. I just want to say, Counselor, we actually, so on the community celebrations calendar, which I've just made live on the website, I'm going to share my screen. Once you know the dates, you actually can click on add the event and let us know which events you want to add and what days. Those will go through an internal approval process. But this is the best way for anyone who wants to add an event to put those events in front of the commission, and then we'll go through them. If you make sure to check community celebrations when you add that event, and then we'll know that this is supposed to go before the Human Rights Commission, and that would be a relatively efficient way. So we can add it ourselves once we have those dates, but if you happen to get those dates first, you can add them on here, and we'll get those put on once we have a conversation here.
Thank you for that information. And Ruben, thank you for all your work, especially throughout this pandemic. Your expertise with technology has been really beneficial to our city. So your work definitely did not go unnoticed. So thank you for everything you've done.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And thank you, everyone. That's all I had that was all I had for my input. So thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us, Counselor. We really appreciate it. And thank
Anytime.
you for all you
Anything I
do.
can do to support you guys, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, all right, great. So, Ruben, I think that was perfect because you got to share your screen and show how easy it is to do this, which is great. So that's live right now, right? So anyone can go in and do that, or?
Yeah, you can add an event now. You can also see it at revere.org/calendar, and you can select community events as your filter. But yeah, this is now a live feature, and if people want to make some proposals, I think we need to make sure we have a process in place, and that's what this subcommittee is all about. But yeah, anyone can make submissions.
Kathy
Yes.
and commissioners, I remember the last time we had conversation about cultural celebration, and then also I brought up about awareness as well. It's like some other awareness like autism. April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, so on and so forth. Are we also kind of holding that as well, or just cultural celebrations?
So I would think, I know that Dr. Garcia shared with us a while ago as an example, it was a diversity awareness calendar that he had found. So thank you again, Dr. Garcia, for sharing that with us. And there's a bunch of different calendars. So I actually took that and I put it into just a very arcane, spreadsheet, and then looked at a couple of other, to your point, Karu, and looked at a couple of other ones. And in the one that Dr. Garcia provided to us, it does talk about, for example, March is Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. February is Black History Month, American History Month, and Human Relations Month. And I think, like you were saying, in April, it's Autism Awareness Month, Community Service Month, Arab American Heritage Month, and Celebrate Diversity Month. So
So it is also Sexual Assault Awareness Month in April too.
I'm writing that down.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I think I'm just writing that down to make sure I have it, because I did not have it. I think what is good is I guess I've got to make sure, maybe I think one, any of us as individuals and anyone watching at home can go on to the website and submit things for approval. So perhaps, you know, this is something we can do every month, is go through all of the requests that have come in and, you know, decide whether or not we want to include them right in the calendar, or, you know, probably maybe do a little research ahead of time to make sure that they are in fact genuine, right? And then from there and bring all of the genuine ones forward, right? Also, though, I think we should work on, you know, getting kind of a master list, to, you know, or original master list to Ruben, or, you know, Ruben, if it's something I can do or whatever is an easier process for you, you know, we can work on either a spreadsheet or, you know, adding some of the things like you said, Carew, and at least get a bunch, you know, up there once we have a bunch of them approved. But I want to just make sure I'm following open meeting law correctly.
So I think also, though, maybe Carew, what you're suggesting is community celebrations might be the wrong term for some of the things that we are talking about. So I can edit that. The challenge, I can't have more than one category default show. So if we want to come up with a better term, we can certainly make that change. That wouldn't be hard to do. So that's the first thing. The second thing, I just want to make sure, I think that this calendar, we can leave it up temporarily, but I do believe that it is the role of the full committee to approve that this is the direction that we're going to have this calendar. So it's just something that I think you'll want to put forward on Thursday.
Right. So we can make recommendations to the full committee.
Right. But if you want to change, and I don't know if it's cultural events or if there's another sort of umbrella word that you feel more comfortable with, and I can make that change right now if you have a proposal, but or we can, you know, sort of fit it up.
What about something like causes, cultures, and group holidays? Or group recognition? You know what I mean? Because I don't know, like some of it's not really a holiday. It's not a celebration, you know.
Oh, it's awareness, you know.
Yeah. So, you know, so cause, cultures, and group awareness and celebrations. I don't know. I mean, this is getting into a very long title, so I don't know if anyone has any ideas.
Cultural and awareness events.
Oh, I like that.
That's why he's in charge, ladies and gentlemen. Culture, say it again, Ruben, if you don't mind. Culture and awareness events.
Cultural and awareness events.
Great. Okay, so I guess what we're gonna have to do is maybe let's talk about all, like we'll decide. So is everyone okay with it being called cultural and awareness events? Does anyone have an opposition to that? Everyone's good? Shay, you're good? Okay, great. Just because I figured we'll probably, once we get the whole thing planned out, I'll ask one of you to make a motion of the whole, that we would make a recommendation to the committee as a whole. So, okay, so culture and awareness events. I guess maybe part of it, what we discussed was recommending that this subcommittee looks at it. So the process for reviewing the calendar submissions is that it goes to this subcommittee. And after we've determined that something is actual, then that the subcommittee can approve what goes in the calendar. And do you want that to be part of the recommendation as well? Or would you rather go to the committee of a whole? To go back to or do you want us not to have that, or should that be part of like the commission hearings?
I like to have it be part of the commission hearing. And also, Kathy, I know we're talking about calendar and I don't want to be ahead, but just because I might forget, I want to have more kind of deeper conversation about, one thing is creating calendars, right? And the other is about how to have conversation, like a deeper conversation. What is the purpose? What is the principle? What is the goal to have this cultural and awareness calendars? Are we gonna really promoting it? Are we gonna really having conversation, raising awareness within the whole city. You know, it's kind of more deeper conversation rather than just, you know, or maybe it might be the first step, let's creating a calendar. And then the second step is having a deeper conversation and how do we promote the awareness? How do we have conversation? How can the city be part of it? How can the community be part of it? So I just want to, you know, move us to the next level as well.
That's a great point. Does anyone else want to comment on that, or?
I think Kuru brings up a good point. She basically is reminding us, all of us, that creating a calendar in itself is an important step towards ensuring that holidays, awareness, and all kinds of celebrations are observed and respected in our city. The second element of this to what she's saying is that, okay, we have all these things on the calendar, but you know, what exactly? Let's suppose that we declare March. We know that March is a women month. So what goes into it? You know, there are places where they invite guest speakers to have, for example, you know, a presentation or a discussion or a group discussion on the role of women in society, or the role of women in Revere, or of minority. So I think what she's looking at is that not just to have calendar itself, and I agree with that, but we got to start somewhere, putting the calendar first, and then, you know, then we can either wait for the calendar to be set first, and then start the discussion in terms of strategies, action steps, and things that we need to do to really make it really authentic and genuine. I think that's what Kuru is trying to say.
Yeah,
Thank you, Dr. Garcia,
Yeah,
for
you're very
capturing it.
yeah.
Yeah, that was great. Shay, is there something you wanted to say? I don't want to put you on the spot. I didn't know if you were looking to unmute yourself. I don't want to put you on the spot if you don't need to. Okay.
No, you're good. No, I totally agree with what Cruz said and what Dr. Garcia kind of summarized what Cruz said. I feel like if we are gonna try to make some sort of change in the city and change that people can actually see, we have to have those deeper conversations. What is it called? It's something that I've heard from the community a lot, and I'm glad that Kuru spoke about it. What is it called? And she did it beautifully, obviously. But no, I totally agree with what everyone is saying. I feel like that would be a first big step to moving forward as a more culturally diverse city.
Thank you, Shay. And thank you, Kuru. You did. You absolutely, you know, put the perspective and, you know, really the actual reason that this subcommittee is formed. So thank you for kind of, you know, wrangling the cats to bring us all in. But, you know, you're right. I agree with you, Dr. Garcia, that I think first we need to, you know, the calendar doesn't exist. And I think the other thing is, you know, once we say give Ruben or, you know, a group of different, you know, holidays and awareness and cultural events, you know, obviously the whole purpose of this is to be inclusive and to include people. So, you know, odds are there's going to be something we're missing. So that would be great if the public, or even if, you know, we're looking later being like, oh, geez, I didn't know that it was, you know, Firefighter Appreciation Day. So you can enter that in, you know what I mean? Or if it's, you know, it could be like you were saying, autism awareness, Chinese New Year, you know, Irish American Heritage Month, any of those things, right? And I think it would be great, you know, for the public and all of us even to go in and make a suggestion if there is something missing. And I think, I know, and I think one of our original discussions about this, Dr. Garcia, you know, you had talked about too, like, you know, maybe, and another thing that's down the road, and maybe this is part of what Kuru was talking about too, you know, as, you know, a separate webpage or a separate page on the city website that, could include, videos to different celebrations that could educate people on different holidays and different ethnic backgrounds, or, why there is, like what Armistice Day is, like things like that, right? Why they were formed and what was the reason. And, obviously it would change throughout the year depending on what, celebrations were there. And of course, if the, city or Revere TV had something, that they were part of, like that would be a link to it too. Like I think about even, hopefully once it's safe and most people are vaccinated, like hopefully the Sandcastle Festival, for example, will return to Revere Beach. That would be something that would go on this kind of calendar, right? And you would certainly have, videos and things from that too. I mean, obviously, this is a calendar that's going to kind of run the gamut of things. But, as Council Morbido said, for June, which is Pride Month, there is going to be likely an event at City Hall that raises the flag. To know that date and put it on would be great. I know usually there's a tree lighting ceremony around Christmas. There's a menorah lighting around Hanukkah. Like to know those dates and put them in the calendar so people, if they're available, can either go or watch on Revere TV, I think would be great going forward. When there's all these different great cultural celebrations that are happening in different parts of the city, to know about it. I know there used to be a Cambodian New Year celebration. Things like that would be great to know and know when they are and be able to go to them, because if I could, I would go to them as well. So
In fact, it's coming up April 13th.
April 13th
Yeah.
is what Cambodian New Year?
Yes. I'll get you the date. Sometime it falls on a 14, between 13 and 14.
Yes, please get me the dates, and you can enter it on the calendar. And then we, you know what I mean? And, or, let Ruben know, and we could put it on there, because that would be great, because, I really appreciate you sharing this calendar with us, Dr. Garcia, because it's a really good starting point to at least say, because even, when I looked at it, I'm like, oh, there's some things, missing here. Like I knew that, there was, I think, like, I'm trying to think what was missing, like, and some holidays change every year, like, Easter changes in a different holiday. Memorial Day is a different year every year. Labor Day is a different year every year. Mother's Day, Father's Day, things like that. So that's, those are things. Grandparents' Day, step family day. I've been looking at a lot of different calendars. But I think, yeah, if we could nail down kind of at least getting maybe a master list to Ruben, and then, just developing the system as to how we're going to approve these. I mean, I think it's great for the whole, the committee as a whole to approve these. But should we approve them here and then do it as a recommendation to the committee as a whole? Just because I feel like we always have so many things to talk about at the full Human Rights Commission meetings. Like that's my only thing. So, for us to be able to have this conversation, because we're concentrating on it, we can devote more time. I know that usually we have a pretty jam-packed agenda. And a lot of people have questions. And if people have questions, we can answer the ones relative to this, but then maybe, if we say, this is what we're going to call it, and these are the recommendations we have for this month, and then have them approve it as a whole. Does that work for everybody to maybe do it that way? Okay, great. Is there anything else that we need to add to that? Ruben, I don't know, am I missing anything that we're recommending that it be called a cultural awareness events calendar, that the suggestions come to the subcommittee, and then we put the recommendations on what to approve to the committee of a whole?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a group, you could just say, here's our recommendations, and if people have any conversation. I mean, you could also see if the committee wants to just task this to the subcommittee entirely and not have to approve it. That might be up to the committee to decide, but.
Okay, subcommittee to task or approve, to task to the subcommittee
or approve as a whole.
Or approve as a whole. Okay. So I'm going to ask if someone will make a motion. Let me see if I can get this correctly. To call this calendar the Cultural and Awareness Events Calendar, and that recommendations to the calendar be go to the subcommittee, and that we can either approve them or make recommendations that the committee as a whole can approve based on what the committee as a whole decides. If they want us to just do it, or if they want the final say. So I don't know if anyone wants to try to repeat that. I don't think that you have to, but can I get a motion?
I make a motion to just what you said.
I second it.
Okay, so all those in favor?
Hi.
Aye, great. And hearing none opposed. Okay, so Karu made the motion. Shay second. Thank you all so much. Is there anything else we should talk about regarding the calendar? Ruben, I'm sorry, I keep putting you on the spot, and maybe I should ask Ashley this too. So is it okay for me to send a spreadsheet to everyone and have them add and then give it to you to submit? Or do you want everyone to just, all of us email you individually?
The easiest thing to do would be for people to go on and actually populate the events that they want
right.
on their own. That would definitely be easiest. And then we can pull those into this meeting and just have a discussion. But
Okay, great.
but otherwise, if you want to collect information on a document to go over it, that's also fine. I don't think I have a way to upload a bunch of events at once. I would have to enter them each one manually.
Okay.
So that would be easier if people had already entered them in. And then we could just approve them.
So,
I agree with Ruben. If I think that's a very good suggestion. Let people review, the calendar, all the elements that we have, all the events, and with what we are recommending to them, and then let them, take that extra step. If they see anything unusual, or if they see anything that needs to be added to the calendar, let them do it themselves. That way, they also will have ownership of the process. It's not just, it would be better that way.
wonderful. Okay. Okay, great. So I guess before we leave the calendar, because we have April coming up, is there any recommendations from anyone? I don't know. I think the city usually does an autism awareness banner, so I don't know if there's one going up already. So I don't think we have to make that recommendation, but other than us entering things on the calendar, is there anything else, any other calendar related comments, thoughts, questions, suggestions? Hearing, all right, hearing none. And so I guess then the fifth thing on our agenda is just other business. Is there any other business that anyone would like to bring before the subcommittee?
I can go. So honestly, whatever I'm gonna be talking about is like very abstract. I don't have a solution to it. It's just that something that I wanted to bring up. But a lot of the members of the community have been talking about like how having any kind of banner is kind of a waste of time, to put it in layman's terms. I guess like because so many people were very outraged of how the fact that someone put up the city hall, someone put up the Black Lives Matter banner, and it was just taken down the next day, and it wasn't like addressed and stuff like that. And I guess like what the vibe that I'm getting from a lot of people is that like banners don't like, I feel like banners don't mean anything anymore. It's like people want to see like real change. And that like, oh, if they're, I guess like what people are saying, like if they're gonna put up a banner, they're just gonna take it down like by the end of the month, so it really doesn't mean anything. So I guess like that's something that I wanted to bring to the committee. Only like, is there other ways that we could spread awareness without like, I don't even know how to like frame it, because it's such a thing to talk about. But I guess like what are your opinions on that? Or like rather than a banner, maybe like something that the community can actually be involved in. For example, in honor to what is it called? A vigil was held on Shirley Avenue either last week or the week before because of the Atlanta shootings of the 6 Asian Americans who died because of it, and addressing how it's a hate crime and stuff like that. Maybe instead of having a banner, be doing something like that. I feel like will bring a lot more awareness and have people talk at stuff like that, because I feel like, yeah, like what do you guys think?
I think I think we can do both. I mean, these are hard times. People have different opinions on many things. Banner, putting banner and other types of things, it's part of symbolism. So it, you know, it's not that people, we are expecting, quick fixes or quick changes or anything like that. But there's a symbolic thing that we're telling people, hey, the city is with you. The city is here, and we want to show some kind of solidarity. Putting a banner out there is like maybe putting a statement in solidarity with people, with classes, especially those who have been historically oppressed or tarnished somehow. So it's a reminder. It's part of our symbolism. It's part of tradition. It's part of the culture. But I agree with you that more actions need to be taken. More actions more things can be done. But certainly the mayor of the city has a right to determine which banner goes on a wall of the city hall. That's he's the as we all know, there are times that I'm not saying specifically about the Black Lives Matter or things like that. I'm not suggesting that was the right thing to do, but there are times that even in our public schools, people come and hang things around, and it's up to the superintendent and the mayor of the city to determine the appropriation. I mean, not the appropriation, to determine the viability or the fitness of the document. It's just the way it is. So I see what you're saying, and I agree with you. I think banner alone will not do the trick. It will not fix things, but at least is a reminder. It's part of our symbolism. It's a way for us to show that we are showing our solidarity with people, with women, with people who have been one way or the other, oppressed or, affected by what's going on in our country and what took place in the past. Just my opinion.
Thank you, Shay, for bringing that up. I think I agree with both you and Dr. Garcia. We should do both, right? And visibility is needed, right? And also deeper conversations and awareness need to also happen. And I think the city, we should have more conversation within the city itself that what it means to hang a Black Lives Matter banner. like who's been harmed, right, by racism and oppression, and who is our allies. How can we do this together? It's not about blaming. It's like I said, racism is embedded in the fabric of society, of our society. Even though we don't have white people, we still have racism because it's been constructed and built for what, 400 years, right? So so how do we have that conversation and start having small conversation, larger conversation, conversation with counselors, conversation with city employees, conversation with the community. I mean, quite frankly, we should look at who's been harmed, right? So, and how can we undo all of that? And it is a process. I keep, you know, I know change is a process. It's not an event. And then we have to start with something, somewhere, somehow. So I agree. I agree with Dr. Garcia. We should have both.
And I also, Shane, that's a very, what you brought up, it's so important, the concern you brought up. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it. I think what's lacking here is, you know, fits the, it fits a, you know, something that is bigger, which is basically education, educating people about this type of things. Because when you see a banner being posted somewhere, that you see that in your view as a youth, you see that it's so important. And unless it's something that really will bring more violence, that's different. But if it's something you really, we need to do a better job in terms of having more constructive conversation, bring more people on board, have education, you know, discussion on race, you know, on how the system has really affected so many people along the way. I think this is all part of it. I think the two go together, and I'm sure that once this pandemic goes away, you know, we'll do more things that will probably benefit, you know, our city and our community. But there's certainly something missing.
No, thank you very much for that, crew, and Dr. Garcia. I definitely agree with you that this is something that is embedded in our society and that education has to happen. I think, and I definitely agree with crew that like even within the members of like not our community, like counselors, like the city counselors and stuff like that, they I believe that a lot and I'm not like blaming anyone, like everyone needs to go through education, but I feel like we should make sure that the people who represent our city and who are the people who are in power in our city that are making decisions for everyone else in the community, I feel like if we are going to provide education, I feel like we should also make sure that they're utilizing that education that they're being given, and like seeing that based off the decisions that they make. Because like that's what, you know what I mean, especially in the community that the neighborhood that I live in, Shirley Avenue, not a lot of people favor those who are in power in our city, because like yes, we do all this education, but are people really taking it into account when making decisions? I wouldn't know, but and according to how people are responding, no. So it's like there's like that first step of like educating people, but I feel like there's always going to be that second step of making sure that they're actually taking the stuff that they learn and integrating it in all the decisions that they make, and holding those people in power accountable of their actions, and like make sure like, okay, you made a mistake and here's the reason why, learn from it, and then try not to make the same mistake again for in the future. So that's just what my 2 cents on it.
Thank you all. I mean, this is really important conversation, and it's constructive and it's civil. And I think, you know, what we've all seen, especially this year, is that's what's kind of lacking across our country. And I think, you know, sometimes change happens a lot slower than people deserve it to happen, right? So I think the reincarnation of this very important Human Rights Commission, and, to kind of go back to how we, it's a little overwhelming because there's a lot of things that eventually, when in place will be really helpful in so many different ways, especially with having really constructive civil dialogue with one another to just learn about each other, because I do believe that a lot of people just really just don't know what they don't know, and they fear what they don't know. So I think, having conversations with people that are different religions, different, from different parts of the world, you really do learn a lot, and your stereotypes and what you think go out the window when you actually take the time to have a cup of coffee with somebody, right? So I think, as Mayor Rigo said to us when we first kind of started the commission, is there's a lot of work to be done. And I think, what we're kind of working on now, even from the perspective of this subcommittee, is how do we're almost putting the pilings in the ground to then be able to do everything else. Like we can't hang the curtains until we've put the walls up and until we've, put the electricity in, right? And have running water. So I think we are kind of at that beginning stage of this. And I think I agree that I think, it's going to be really important. And the goal is to try to be inclusive and to try to, I think, we always run the risk when we put ourselves out there, which is what this commission does, of, inadvertently offending someone, right? I know that I do it, in my own life, and I always feel bad and go back and apologize when I know that I've done it. But I think, the goal is to try to say, how are we recognizing everyone? Because everybody in this community matters, right? So how are we, I think we're going to get there. I think though, I know a banner, I would imagine that a banner would be frustrating if, this is something that, has been a negative experience for someone for a long time, but it is about really baby stepping our way into some of this because people just don't know what they don't know. I don't know if that makes sense. But I think, it was interesting. I think, Karu, I wrote it down, and where the heck did I wrote it down? You said, it's not just about creating calendars, it's about a deeper conversation. I think that's what you said earlier in the meeting, Karu, and you're right. And I think, it's all of us that are taking this time to try to get this right, and at least try to move our community forward so that we can have a more, unified community, I guess is a good way to say it, is really the goal, right? And I think, you're right, though. I think, had I known, I didn't know, this is the first time I heard that there was a vigil at Shirley Ave for AAPI community. I'm really glad that happened. Had I known, if I was able to, I certainly would have come down. And I remember talking to Reverend Bogertman that they had the memorial for people in the city that we lost to COVID. And I saw it when I put on Facebook, and it had already happened. So, hopefully that's kind of the goal of the calendar, to kind of bring us back, is to say, like, hey, isn't it, like for me, every Sunday night I review my calendar. What do I have ahead of me for the week? Maybe this is something that if we have it on our city website as a community, we can look at this calendar and be like, oh, this, these things are happening. So, that would be the goal. And then from there, I mean, I would kind of think that then, yeah, like Shay, to your point, how do we say, okay, we've recognized all these things. How do we build around them? Now we know that, this is, Sexual Assault Awareness Month. How do we find something that, we could post on the website or post on Revere TV, or, Carew, have, your organization that works so hard, like talk about this, even with some of the police department or whatever, like how do we plan this out? But I think you first need, again, the pilings to then build out. I don't know, is that making sense to you guys, ladies and gentlemen?
I mean, the goal is to look at justice, right? Equity and justice. And we all know that people's been oppressed and been killed, right? And last year, this year, so how do we prevent that from happening?
Mhm.
And like you said, Kathy, and some of the stuff need to be changed like immediately. Otherwise, people keep on dying, right? Sometimes we don't have time. We don't have a lot of time.
Mhm.
We need to act now. So there's a lot of things that we need to be doing. So yeah, I am looking forward to be part of that change. I'm not, I have to be in it, right? And to partner with everyone and to have more conversation and bring people together.
Well, I really appreciate all of you, and I appreciate this conversation. And I'm looking at Ruben, so I'm reminded of the time. I know we have about 8 minutes left, and there is one thing I mean, this has been a great conversation. I don't mean to kind of rush us off, but because we are having a Human Rights Commission meeting, I think what we should look at is, for April and May, for the calendars, to make sure that there's things that should definitely be on there before things start. So I know, Carew, you brought up Sexual Assault Awareness Month in April. There's Autism Awareness Month is April, Arab American Heritage Month. There's Good Friday, there's Easter. There is actually the International Day of Reflection on the Genocide in Rwanda. Passover is in April. Patriots Day, and the first day of Ridvan, if I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, to be honest with you. So if someone wants to correct me, please do. But those are some things. And Cambodian New Year, actually, right, is the 14th, Carew, right? So actually Holocaust Remembrance Day, Earth Day, and that's all in April. And then in May, there's National Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, Haitian Heritage Month, Indian Heritage Month, Jewish American Heritage Month, Mental Health Month, South Asian Heritage Month, Personal History Awareness Month, Older Americans Month, Cinco de Mayo, Mother's Day, Armed Forces Day, Ramadan begins, Memorial Day. That's just a few. So maybe we should, if I type something up, mentioning all of the things that I mentioned, plus some others, kind of going along the lines of the calendar that Dr. Garcia provided, could I entertain a motion to just bring April and May before the committee of a whole on Thursday, so that we can at least kind of get ahead of the game a little bit and have April and May up there, so that when we meet again in April, that we're able to now look at, June and further into the year. Could I end it? Does anyone, let's open it for discussion before I ask for a motion.
So just a clarification. So for Ramadan, it starts April 12th, April 13th, and Eid is May 12th or May 13th. This date is always changing because no one can make a consensus on like which day it is, but it's like that those two dates are like the beginning and end.
Okay, so would you want it listed so I can search it too. So you want Ramadan for is the 12th, you said. So it starts on April 12th and it doesn't begin in May.
No, it ends in May.
Okay, so it's in between. So it's April 12th or 13th to May 24th.
May 12th.
To May 12th. Wow, I'm
Yes.
totally off, Shay. Thank God you're
No,
here.
no, you're good.
Okay, and then, excuse my ignorance because I don't know. How do you say the other holiday? Eid?
Eid, it's spelled E-I-D.
Okay. And that is that one day or is that a series of days?
That is just one day.
Okay, so that's May 12th or the 13th. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so well, before I do it again, so is there any other additions, corrections, anything?
So the Cambodian New Year is 3 days, the 14, 15, and 16.
So 14th through the 16th of April.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. And then, okay, so what I'll do is I will, I guess this will be part of the report that we'll give to the committee, recommending the days that we discussed. Plus, if you look at everything that, and if you need it again, I can send you the link to the calendar that Dr. Garcia provided just as a guide. And then if there's anything else that you suggest needs to be entered, I guess we could enter it online, right, Ruben? We can enter it right there.
That's correct.
Okay, I would like to make a motion that we at least we put before the committee of a whole the holidays in April and May that we discussed here, plus the other ones that were suggested in the calendar that Dr. Garcia provided. Do I hear a motion? Anybody?
I motion it.
Thank you, Shay. All right, motion by Shay. Okay, do I have a second?
All
Can I
right, I'll
second
second it.
All right,
Yes.
thanks, Dr. Garcia. I'm like, wow, I almost was gonna start singing the theme to a game show right there. Well,
Jeopardy.
yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so all those in favor? Say aye. Okay, great. Thank you all so much. We have 2 minutes left. If there is not any other other business that we want to bring before this subcommittee, I'd like to entertain a motion for adjournment. One of you have to do it.
I motion the meeting to adjourn.
And is there a second? And Carew seconds. Okay, great. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Really appreciate the time and the dedication you're all putting into this. It's so much appreciated. Thank you, Ruben, so much for helping us with all of this. We would be lost without you. We hope you all have a very nice evening, and I'll see you all later this week for our Human Rights Commission meeting. Thank you all so much.
Thank
Have
you.
a good one, everyone.